Um, well, I think, Angela, when you're ready, you can go ahead and start.
Okay.
You have the stream, Steve?
Yeah, should work.
Okay, yeah, we're live.
Okay, great. We're live, so you're ready to go.
All right. Okay, let me know if you can see it. Should say
Engineering Academy.
Okay, brilliant. I think I have an echo, so let me know if there's anything wrong with the audio. All right. So I'd like to share an introduction to token engineering, which is part of the Token Engineering Academy program. And Pete asked me, I think on Monday, if we want to do it, and I'm happy to provide it, especially because tonight there's another session related to token engineering, which is the CAD conviction voting session, which is, I think, a great workshop as well. So what's the Token Engineering Academy? The Token Engineering community is a community around this topic of token engineering, which I will introduce in a minute. And basically, this is a new engineering discipline, which provides huge challenges on one hand, but there is no education available on the other hand. So we decided to launch our own community Token Engineering Academy. And we have been running 2 courses in July. One of it is a 4 days ecosystem value flows, which went pretty well with 16 people and 8 different projects working out their ecosystem value flows. So, and we will run it again in September. So feel free to join our Discord, and I will share some links in a minute. And take a look at it. Okay, introduction to token engineering. What is token engineering? Basically, it's about building token-based economic systems that work and keep working. Why should you do token engineering? Why should you practice it? First, of course, to avoid to hurt your users. I've picked just some cases where things went wrong, but I think you all know a couple of others. Okay, like in this case, you are hurting the trust, you're damaging the trust in your product, in your organization, in your DAO. You lose your users' support, and most important, you don't want to put your users' livelihood at stake. And this, of course, here we have a DeFi case, but look at this one. This is the MakerDAO's Black Thursday, where they had to decide as an emergency decision to onboard USDC as a collateral type, meaning that, and you can see it here, first the governance facilitator had to announce, okay, we may not have more than an hour to collect signal before this proposal needs to be moved into the portal, and the decision has to be made. So this needs, here in this case, it had to happen really quickly. It's going to distort your roadmap, like in this case, and whatever you might have planned, whatever you want to accomplish, one attack, one failure, one single day, and you might be forced to change everything, and you might be forced to take emergency decisions that you're not prepared for, or that your community is not prepared for, your DAO members are not prepared for, resulting then in even more troubles. So you put the roadmap of your DAO and your own personal plans at stake. And last but not least, here in this case, it also resulted in a class action lawsuit from the victims of Black Thursday. So it can turn out to be extremely expensive, not only in terms of capital costs, but also in systems confidence and reputation in general. And for a DAO, of course, you should also take a particular close look, because when not having a proper legal wrapper, your members might be liable individually without any limitation. Okay, so this is, why token engineering? We are aiming for stable, reliable, and successful tokenized economies. Now, here is an overview on how this all started. I don't want to go into every detail of this overview, but basically, our community started in February 2018 when Trent McConaughey, he's the co-founder of Ocean Protocol, has written an article, Can Blockchains Go Rogue? And he first mentioned the term token engineering. And this is actually part of an article series that is describing blockchain protocols and crypto as incentive machines. And this new power of being able to let people do stuff and incentivize a certain behavior on your platform. Now, subsequently, we started to run meetups. There have been three global gatherings of token engineers. The first one in May 2018, and in June, there was an important influential article on token engineering fundamentals from Michael Sargam, who is going to run this session tonight as well. Then academia started to pick up this topic as well. The Crypto Economic Systems Summit and Journal, founded by the MIT Media Lab, started this peer-reviewed journal dedicated to crypto economics. And also, the Crypto Economic Lab in Vienna was founded as part of the Vienna University, dedicated to research in crypto economics. Then also CatCat was open sourced in autumn 2019, and now in 2020 we had the NonCon with talks on crypto economics. We relaunched our new website, and finally in July, as mentioned, we started the Token Engineering Academy. Now, talking about token engineering, maybe first let's talk about crypto economics. So I'm quoting now a definition of crypto economics and crypto economic systems, which are based on a paper, the fundaments or the foundations of crypto economic systems. Crypto economic systems are complex socio-economic networks defined by A, individual autonomous actors, B, economic policies embedded in software, and emergent properties arising from the interactions of those actors according to the rules defined by this software, by a certain software. And this paper was written by Sherman Forschung-Mir and Michael Sargam, but of course the term crypto economics has been used also by Vitalik Buterin and Vlad Zamfir, and we define token engineering as applied crypto economics in a nutshell. Now, talking about tokens, basically you have three basic definitions. Tokens can be a store of value, like we have it in Bitcoin today, can be a medium of exchange, like stable coins, DAI, or community currencies, and can be a unit of account, for example, to track value adds, contributions, activities. You can also look from another angle and can define tokens as security tokens, representing securities, which is an existing traditional financial instrument transferred to the blockchain. There is a new type called governance tokens granting decision-making rights, important for DAOs like Compound, which are mined, or MKR at MakerDAO, which can be bought. And sometimes these governance tokens have a strong overlap with a store of value on one hand, or work tokens on the other hand. Work tokens is also a pretty new type, like synthetics. They are kind of combining investments and providing work. So first you have to buy a token to gain access right to a certain network, and then B, you provide work to participate in cash flows. And then you have all kinds of curation, validation, voting rewards, mostly based on staking mechanisms. You have NFTs. And this is then again based on a specific technical standard, in this case non-fungible. And I think you also are running a track on conditional tokens. with Gnosis. And this is also an example of this technical definition of tokens, which provide, let's say, a starting point and certain properties. And then based on that, you can start design or use this pattern to design your economy. And in many cases, you have tokenized incentives to reward a certain value add to your system. Now, similarly to, okay, here we are looking from a technical angle, from a business modeling angle, from also a regulation angle. To engineer tokens, you can look at it from various perspectives. Technical engineering, legal engineering, of course, and then ethical engineering and the economic engineering. And token engineering is concentrating mainly on the technical and economic side of it. But of course, left and right, the legal part and particularly the ethical part is important as well. But what I don't do now is looking at it from this, okay, you have this classification, but rather look at tokens as an atomic unit of state. And then you can consider tokens to make all socioeconomic activities visible. And that's actually, I would say, the key power of tokens, making socioeconomic activities visible, and then not only visible, but also based on these signals, you're able to steer economies based on tokens and use tokens as an incentive to optimize a network towards a specific purpose. And there's a quote it's actually from the kernel program: if you're not altering the incentive structure on which your society runs, you should probably just use a database. Okay, and I think that's also the aim of many DAO projects. It's not only about a database or even not only about a financial instrument. It's really about defining new rules for your system. And then you are developing data-driven economies with new economic and social structures and new institutions, for example, to create new kinds of platforms, permissionless direct interactions without intermediaries, and new types of organizations on a local or a global scale, or both combined, and new forms of ownership and participation. And to wrap this up, I'd like to share a brief clip from a talk from Chris Baruch in Vienna. Because then, if you say, okay, data-driven economies, you can consider economies as complex systems and can tackle the engineering side of it with things we know from other disciplines like complex systems engineering, network science, organizational and management science, ethical science. And these are tools that are already there and knowledge and research that is already there and now can be applied to our new crypto systems. Okay, now I'll quickly share my video screen. Need to switch to a different screen. See it? Okay. Let's check. Can you see the YouTube screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see it.
All right. And then now let's take a look at it, and please let me know if there are problems.
You closed it now.
I closed it?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
No.
No? Okay. Let's check again if there's anything wrong with the video. Okay. Now?
Alright. Yeah, now it's here.
Okay. I'll switch to full screen and hope. Is it there?
Yeah, it disappeared again.
Ah, damn. If I switch to full screen, it looks like
Yeah, it doesn't show the
Discord is stop sharing this. Okay. Can you see it still?
screen. Nope.
No. Okay.
No, I can't see it.
You had it. You had it full screen at one moment. There, just hit play.
Okay, I can see it now.
You can see it now? Okay, let's
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Systems, or why do we talk about crypto economies and as complex systems? Because our economy consists of subsystems that are connected to each other and they are interdependent. So you do not have one thing that you observe, but you have many different components, many specific parts of the economic system, which might be the market, which might be the token, which might be some interactions going on. And you cannot disentangle these things from each other. So effects or interactions in one of the subsystems will have influence and feedback loops to other parts. So you have always to describe crypto economies as a whole. Another property is the time dimension. So complex systems or crypto economies are dynamic. So time plays a role. You cannot take a snapshot of the economy and try to understand it. You always have to look at the evolution. You always have to look at the dynamics. In some sense, you have control applications. So this would mean that you would like to guide the system in a specific way. So similar to a rocket ship that wants to fly to the moon, that can apply different controls, you as an engineer or you as an agent can interact with the system and you can apply some specific controls that are to be designed, obviously, and that which can be designed centrally or even decentrally, right? So this is the huge benefit of crypto economies. You have decentralized control mechanisms. And if you design or if you look at these complex systems, you have to look at them from different perspectives. So it's not a simple thing to look on. And you have to be aware that these things are layered. So you have the macroeconomy as a whole, but you can go deeper and deeper into every layer. And then you will finally arrive at the micro level where you have agents having interactions taking place. And these layers are interconnected. So each of them should connect to each other. To the top, you should go into contextualization. So you should always, if you model or if you look at a specific part of the economy, you should ask yourself, how does this connect to the layer above? And if you look at to one layer below, you should always ask yourself, how are the effects or how are the things that you observe on one specific layer, how are they consistent what is happening on the lower level? So you have micro foundations. Everything that you try to build above should be consistent with everything that you have below. And once you have this, you can apply crypto economics, which in my view is economics on steroids, right? So you would try to take this possible outcomes and to build some kind of incentive structure. You should build some kind of gravitation. So you should say you can guide the system in one specific way. You can build purpose-driven systems. And here you can think of the Bitcoin network, for example, where you have the purpose of exchanging value. Or you can think of the Ethereum network, where you think of the purpose of distributed computation. So these are things that the network is designed to do. And if you build it, or if you're in the process of building these systems, you should always keep in mind that this is the purpose that you want to achieve. And you want to attract all of the users in order to so that their actions follow specific guidelines that bring the whole network into this direction. But since you have heavy computation and since you have a lot of data available, real-time live data, So this would be represented by this little sketch. You would have much more information available than in usual economic or in usual, let's say, heuristic models of interaction. So you really can take this data, you can make these packages compute very efficiently, and therefore you can really bring very strong methods to the table. So you do not have to rely on simplifications, you do not have to rely on linearizations, but you can build very complex, connected, dynamic economic models in real time that you can observe, but also guide or control.
Okay, that's it for the moment. I think, not sure about the time. I'd love to share some more words on the typical token engineering process and upcoming roles of a token engineering team, but also happy to answer questions if there are some. Any questions? Otherwise,
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you describe the course, what you guys cover during the academy course?
You mean ecosystem value flows?
Yeah, the course that you're describing that you just finished in July, the one in September.
Okay.
What's the curriculum like?
Yeah. So this course is part. So we have the total token engineering process in 6 key steps, and this course is covering the very early stage. You can also say, okay, the very early stage of a project or a startup, where you define your stakeholders and the value flows between those stakeholders. You learn tools to analyze these value flows and to validate them. And finally, after the 4 days, we create a stock and flow. And stock and flow is basically the mapping language you need then to go to the next step and start simulations and also start selecting the right mechanism design. This is basically the goal of these ecosystem value flows. And it's running over 4 days, or at least in the first round, we had 4 full days in a row. Perhaps we will change it a little bit, and we'll have this course again in September. And the cool thing about it is you are able to work on cases throughout those 4 days. So it's not only, let's say, having lectures, but actually having, let's say, 50% lectures and inputs and training on various tools, and then you work on your own case and discuss the results.
Are there any prerequisite requirements to?
Basically, not really. I mean, it's good if you are somehow familiar with tokens, of course, and blockchain technology, but even in that case, we have, so typical background in our courses is people with an economic or an engineering background or blockchain developers, roughly, or perhaps product managers in blockchain projects, or also ecosystem developers who want to go into this direction of becoming a systems owner, which I'll explain in a minute. So these are I wouldn't say prerequisites, so we don't have strict ones, but this is, I'd say, a typical background of the participants.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions so far? Otherwise, I'll continue. Okay. I'll share my screen again. Okay, you should now see the slides again. And because of the time, I'll skip engineering ethics. I just want to let you know that there is a long tradition of having engineering societies that have an ethical code which, let's say, tries to establish a sense of responsibility if you're engineering in traditional societies infrastructure, public infrastructure, and then we hope to transfer this sense of responsibility also to the crypto sector, since, as mentioned earlier, these systems are very powerful, and you are defining kind of a law, a codified law. You are defining the rules. You are defining what's valuable, and hence we see the need to look at it from an ethical perspective as well. Yeah, I'll skip this and continue with the token engineering process. So first, to give you an overview, this is the basic token engineering process. You start with your ecosystem design and the value flows, as mentioned. Then you continue with the dynamic model and the economic model. I'll come to this in a minute. You build a digital twin, which is a representation of your system, only or dedicated to run specific experiments and see kind of stress testing and see if your system is stable and remains stable in certain circumstances. You run simulation and verify your system, and then you implement it and operate it. Okay, ecosystem design. Here, you define the system purpose, the stakeholders, the motivation, also their assets they bring to the table. You might have already seen systems where it's not only liquidity or it's not only tokens, it can be verification, it can be curation, it can be governance, voting, decision-making. So these are the assets that from stakeholders. Then you define the interactions between stakeholders. You define the system policy, so the rules, the incentives, and also penalties in your system. And finally, you model the stock and flows of your system. And this is, as mentioned, covered by the Token Engineering Academy course, Ecosystem Value Flows. The second step is your dynamic and economic model. This is about translating the ecosystem design to a system design in a system engineering way. You create a mathematical formulation of your system. So you have differential equations covering all the interactions and transactions between your stakeholders. You have a dynamic model that is also covering time, since, as mentioned in Chris's talk, it's not only about a static model, but also about one that is evolving over time. You are defining your economic model, your monetary, your minting policy, your fiscal policy, how your token is going to be distributed, how rewards mechanisms are applied, if you have mining, if you have fees, if you have taxes. And also you define your agent behavior, meaning you try to model the types of your agents and how they will behave in the system. And you can imagine in a very early stage, this is based mainly on assumptions. You try to imagine how your stakeholders will behave, but at a later stage of your system, you can also use real data to inform those agent models and or even run, like we have it today, perhaps in A/B testing, even run experiments with real data and real transactions. Okay, this is step 2, dynamic model and economic model. And then you have the digital twin and simulation and verification. Here you build up normally parts of the system. So for regular systems with many layers and with many interactions, you try to pick the key parts of your system, and then you build a digital twin. And you can do this in CADCAD, which is this workshop tonight. This is a Python framework that enables to build up these digital twin and then also to add agent-based modeling to run a system and transaction with specific modeled behavior. Then you define a set of experiments, what questions you want to be answered via simulations, how your agents, as mentioned, should be modeled, and subpopulations of these agents, and your verification methods, which is based on common engineering practice and data science practice. And then you run simulations. And based on this knowledge, and only then if your system is optimized and running stable, you implement it as a blockchain. You translate the policies you have defined in your digital twin. You defined it already in algorithms that you are now, or at that point, then able to add to the code. You collect the data and monitor the system, and you can, and this is the great thing about these kind of systems, you can continue to use this digital twin to simulate based on new insights, or if you want to expand the system, or if you, let's say, prior to changing your decision-making mechanism design, you can use your digital twin and run experiments, how this will work out in certain environments and in certain situations. And looking at this process, you can also say, okay, what's the typical steps in an early stage, for example, where you start with the ecosystem design. You go with an economic model. For example, you say, okay, I want to have a DAO and I want to have a specific voting mechanism like conviction voting. And this comes with specific rewards for voting and for participation. And you look at conviction voting and then you see, okay, this works for our model, but we would need to have certain amendments. And you go back to your ecosystem design and look at your stakeholders, look at the typical cases for your system and adapt this economic model or the dynamic model for conviction voting. This would be a typical activity in early stage. Now, moving forward, prior to a testnet or mainnet launch, you would already work with your digital twin and run simulations to cover, for example, this case, okay, we have a really busy network. We are running on or relying for our transactions on Ethereum. What happens if we have a congested network like we have? And then what are the edge cases we have to take into? And then at a later stage, if you're running your
yesterday?
Did you?
No.
I have some funny noises. Not sure if you can hear it as well. Okay, I think it's gone.
Yes, right.
Yeah, in production and ongoing, you can use this data and feed it back to the digital twin. And just a brief look at tools and techniques. CatCat, as mentioned, as a tool for simulations. There are other tools, not necessarily software, like games, to play out the policies of your specific network, and then being this is a really great tool to go into every single detail of your transactions with that's what you need at some point to define the policies. And games and Le Grand Jeu, this is basically a role-playing game. This is a very flexible setup where you can really model your system as a board game and can play it out before you implement anything and test your assumptions. And then, of course, you also have later stage tools, or let's say methods or techniques, economic space verification, bug bounties, of course, or rewards to establish a security culture and make risk visible in governance processes also. For example, a risk assessment for voting proposals, which can then include an analysis or even simulations of certain parts, or a canary network like Kusama for Polkadot, where you literally stress test your system without any limitations, but in Polkadot's case, just 1% of the value of Polkadot mainnet. And risk management in general is something important as a later stage and should be established early on. You start small with a small user base, with a small amount of value at risk. You prepare, or you get trained in how to prepare and how to deal with emergency fixes. It's also an important thing also for all kinds of governance processes. Or you start permissioned and slowly transfer to permissionless, or consider centralized intervention as long as you don't have really well and fast governance processes. And similar, let's say, means to tackle, particularly in a later stage, events and emergency cases for your network. That's it on the process. And finally, I'd like to talk about roles. So I feel like today we are thinking about token engineers similarly to software developers perhaps 20 years ago. So there is this single guy, and there is this single token engineer. But actually, you all know we have in software engineering teams today, we have product managers. We have software developers that are specialized in front end, in back end, in mobile apps. We have DevOps taking care for the developer infrastructure. We have QA, and in crypto, in addition, smart contract security and audits, and so on. And similarly, for token engineering, we have also different roles and also a different expertise required for those roles. Let's take a look at it. First, the systems owner. I'd say this is a similar role to the product manager, perhaps you might want to call it. He links the token engineering team to all the stakeholders that are relevant for the system design. So your users, your investors, your token holders, your decision makers, and make sure that the goals are clear and that design is aligned with the strategic objectives and also technical constraints, of course. And these people we have rare cases today where we have really such fully fledged teams. So take it with, okay, this is the vision of a token engineering team, but what we're seeing today, these people have a background in business and engineering, and ideally experience with large-scale ecosystems like we have it today in supply chain or transportation. And those people are trained to, on one hand, have maintain this overview on the total system, and then in parallel or in other occasions will drill down to the details and are able to handle both perspectives. Next one is the systems engineer. A systems engineer is responsible for the system design and as mentioned, the mathematical formulation of the system. And this is resulting in the algorithms to achieve the system properties that are defined by a systems owner. And here, a typical background is an engineering discipline such as systems or control engineering, mechanical or electrical engineering. Another role is the data economist. And here we have all those people who studied economics and are able to draw from economic theory, particularly for quantitative formalization of economics and the paradigms like voting mechanisms or like token distribution. And they are able to map those, explore economic mechanisms that exist and sometimes are tested over decades, and then see, can we use them for blockchain use cases? And here the background is quantitative economics, macroeconomics, monetary theory, or finance. And last but not least, we need data scientists. They are responsible to encode the system in a digital twin. So those are the people who implement the digital twin, run simulation, draw conclusions, and also visualize the results to be able to communicate with the system's owner, and then in the second step, also to the stakeholders in the system. For example, if you want to discuss the results of a certain simulation to the decision makers in your DAO. Okay, that's on the roles, and I think I'm running out of time. Here is a brief hint to the token engineering channels. If you want to learn more, we have a Discord, we have a Twitter channel, also a Telegram channel. We have meetups, mainly driven by the Berlin and the Switzerland community. And tonight there's also this CatCat workshop at 2:30 p.m. That's it from my side.
Awesome.
Very briefly, but yeah. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Angela. Drop us the links in the workshop discussions.
Cool. Okay, I will.
Yeah, and if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. No questions, just noises.
Yeah, I already got some messages. Happy to meet you in our token engineering channels, and thanks for having me, and enjoy the workshop later on.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. See you soon.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. Alright, so we got some time before the next workshop, Andre's product design workshop. Anybody care to share what they're working on? Nobody?
Yeah, or if you're looking for someone to help finish up your team or complete your team, good place for requests.
Maybe Blair?
Yeah, I don't actually have anything right now. We kind of finished up with the CIC group. I was gonna try and write like a DAO article for the informational quest, but I don't have a team. If anyone has anything interesting going on, wants an extra set of hands. I mean, because we're kind of finishing up Fork the World in a day or two, right?
Yeah, Friday is the end of submission. But no, I mean, content's great. As you articles were awesome. We need more of that. More memes, more articles, more art.
Yeah, we have a few DAO articles, but none of them are really great. So if you want to write a really great one, that's a good opportunity.
I think we're still missing great DAO explainer video that I hope one day.
Interesting.
We have. I mean, there's this great block. There's a couple really good what is blockchain videos that are those hot take videos, but I think we're still missing what is DAO? What is DAO?
Yeah, I guess I was going from DAO Canvas to who runs DAOstack. DAOstack's got a cool intro video.
Okay. Yeah, Philippe created the DAO Canvas thing when he was working at DAOstack.
Yeah, I'll just share it in the chat just in case you guys want to watch it for reference. But
yeah, thanks.
And DAOstack has some cool videos on their website.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to the DAOstack website, actually. I've only ever just clicked through to claim my 1UP points. DAO framework, and I was like, what is this UI? It wasn't Moloch-y enough.
Yeah, they didn't get much praise for the design.
It did not grab me.
Manu, are you around? Haven't seen this dude in months.
Oh no, Manu, where you been? Are you holed up in the jungle, Puerto Rico? Apparently so. No microphones out there.
Yeah. Man. And what have you been working on, Andre?
Good question. A lot of stuff. What have I been working on? Aside from the projects that are currently running in parallel, one of them is a centralized hedge fund. The other one is a centralized cloud service or like cloud provider. We're actually working on something quite interesting. So on one hand, I'm trying to teach people as much as possible about how to work more efficiently in teams. So that's also going to be part of what I'll talk about later. On the other hand, we're also putting together a kind of, it's hard to explain what it is. I guess it's like a mixture of company structure and cooperative, along the lines of what was her name? Andrea, right? Angela? No, Angela.
Angela, right.
I was talking about with the token incentives to incentivize a community to work towards, I guess, a common goal or a common objective, and set up a structure that allows people to basically work together without complicated like hiring processes or quality control and getting rewarded for the work that they do. It's like a mix of bounties, DAOs, and how a company should work. And it's kind of what we're trying to work on right now. And yes, give people more opportunities.
I saw the Notion post that Charlie shared in the Deep Work chat today.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first step to it. So it's actually quite interesting, I think.
We're gonna find it and share it here. Where is it?
Yeah. And actually, how do you post things here, or like write stuff?
You have to post them in the channel above, the workshop discussion channel.
Got it. Okay, I see. Nice.
The mission fund in the chat for anyone interested.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. The mission fund is basically, on a very high level, is everything that we're working at right now, which is, and I guess it's 6 p.m., so I'll quickly introduce myself to everybody who doesn't know me. Manu, it's also cool seeing him again, almost like he's everywhere. I'm Andre. I run Deep Work Studio, or I guess Deepwork, it doesn't matter, which is a distributed product design studio. So we design products and MVPs for smaller teams or larger teams, using kind of state-of-the-art processes, which are taken from how Google worked or still works, but actually also kind of taking it a step further, because Google is still an on-location company, and some of you might be familiar with design thinking or design sprints. So all these principles of extremely active collaborative work, we incorporate them into our work, and that way we can manage to basically, with the teams who, let's say, have a technology, they put together a new protocol, but they don't know what kind of product to build yet. We put within a prototype within a week or a bit less, and use our test that prototype so that they know whether they like how they should release it to the market. And very fast. Nobody's doing that so far, so it's a bit unfortunate. So that's why I'm here, and would love more people to kind of understand it, because it's actually quite simple. And so the mission fund is basically set up in a way that it can allow everybody who knows about us and who knows about what we do, because part of what we do is also, you know, when you work a lot more efficiently, you save a lot of time. Save a lot of time, and you're able to reinvest that time in other things, like learning new stuff, or your personal health, or development, or your own business, whatever. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people should be able to. So we don't want people to work very long. We're trying to kind of watch for our health. So kind of our mission to create the future of work. And so everybody who's in line with that, or who kind of likes that, but who doesn't exactly know what to do, they can kind of join our mission fund, and they basically get shares from our revenue by contributing. So if you know what we do, or if you like what we do, you like the help, after each month we distribute 20% of our monthly revenue to everybody who contributed in kind of a DAO system. But yeah, I guess there, if you share that link, then people can just read it up. It's very nicely written up. Charlie. Yeah, and I guess today, unfortunately, I'm still super into other things, so I wasn't able to prepare like the kick-ass presentation or workshop. But I think I can definitely go through like some interesting or important learnings, and basically share a lot, as much as possible. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today, I have already written up, and share some links with you along the way, so that you know, basically know how to read that, or how to use that information better. Yeah, I guess let me just share a couple of slides. They are very, very basic. It's more like as a guidance. See if this works. If you don't see my screen, share your screen. Doesn't seem like I can click it. Oops. Yeah, okay. Has that ever been a problem?
I don't see it.
Yeah, me neither. So it doesn't even, I can't even click it.
Are you using the web application or the desktop app?
I am on a web app.
So you can't share screen with the web app. You have to have the desktop app.
Ah, okay. Then let me re-log in into the desktop app.
We'll wait for you.
Awesome, thank you. See you in a moment.
We'll play some nice little medleys while you're gone.
Perfect, thank you.
I can't hear you now, Andre.
Yep.
You have to, so go in and toggle, mess with your audio like Angela did, and toggle something off and on. I can't remember what it was. It's like push to talk or something like that.
The audio input, I think. The input device. Nope.
Yeah, still can't hear you. Did you find that setting? Sorry, we can't hear you. You'll have to type in discussion.
Have you tried changing the input device under the voice and video? Yeah.
Okay, you can probably hear me now, but now I'm like connected through my. Can I connect through my desktop app, through my browser Discord? But then.
Yeah, you can share your screen through one, and you can talk to the other. Why not?
Hopefully.
No, it doesn't work. It disconnects me automatically. Okay. Well, in that case, I can just. Anyway, I guess this. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. I would have loved to show you stuff. Yeah, sorry. I should have checked if I can. I never use Discord, so I never know whether it works. I'll give me like 2 more minutes, and if it doesn't work, then I'll just do something else. I just don't.
No worries.
Can everyone else see this?
No sound. Yeah. We lost the audience anyway.
Okay, I've joined on my phone. Okay, I have no idea what's going on. That's a shame.
Yeah, don't worry.
Should we just do it another time? And there's more people, or are you recording and putting it out there?
Yeah, I'm recording it, but yeah, it's still probably not many people will watch it later.
Yeah. And let's postpone it. I'll figure out the thing with Discord because it's super annoying on my desktop. I think it never really worked ideally. Like either microphone didn't work or something else. And I will have like proper interactive thing next time. If that's okay for you. Otherwise, I mean, I can talk about like prototyping and user testing and stuff, and like share some material. I think if people actually listen, and then it might be more valuable to kind of get the context.
You mean when there's video, or just audio?
Sorry?
You're saying it would be better if people actually saw the video, or is it okay if you
both? I mean, it would be better if they could kind of listen to what I talk about it, what I explain about it, and then because I have like things written up and like instructions and tools and stuff to share. But it's definitely easier to understand in my experience, or like with other teams. It was always easier to understand if I could actually guide them through it and show them.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, let's just do it at another time then.
Yeah, sorry, that's
No worries.
really weird.